We begin with breaking news from Buckingham Palace this hour. Prince Andrew will no longer be known as a prince and will revert to his name, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor.
There is a chapter in the story of Sarah Ferguson and Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor that still feels unbelievable even now. A chapter filled with secret partners, reckless actions inside royal spaces, private clashes with senior relatives, and a marriage already collapsing long before the public sensed a single thing was wrong. This is what staff saw, what writers revealed, and what top royals tried to keep buried. The details are startling. Sarah Ferguson entered royal life with excitement, yet with a hopeful idea that marrying the Queen's second son would give her security. What she actually stepped into were long periods of loneliness. Andrew served in the Navy, often gone for months at a time. Several reports say the pair spent only about 40 days together each year in the beginning. It created a situation where their emotional bond barely stayed alive. By 1989, insiders say Sarah was already painfully lonely, which is where Steve Wyatt enters the picture. Wyatt was a rich Texan investor, smooth, confident, and charismatic.
Of his friends, they're all running scared, they're all running away. Our daughter suffered 14 years of physical and mental abuse by a similar man who's now in prison, and I have no sympathy whatsoever for Sarah Ferguson and her friends and Andrew.
They met at the British Opera Festival in Houston, and people close to her say Sarah quickly became completely drawn to him. Some writers quote friends saying she once called Wyatt the love of her life. Whether that's true or an exaggeration, the effect was obvious. Their connection grew deeper, and Andrew, still away on duty, had no idea what was unfolding. When Andrew finally learned the truth, the marriage took a heavy hit. From that point on, the problems were no longer tiny. They grew visible to the world. Dr. Alan Starkey, who has written a lot about Sarah, describes a tense moment that showed how cold things had become. Leaving Harry's bar in Mayfair, a very pregnant Sarah stumbled and fell. Andrew kept walking, offering no help, forcing her to catch up. For a couple once seen as the modern royal love match, it was a shocking look at how broken things were. Wyatt later moved on and got engaged to someone else, but the emotional damage he caused never fully faded. And amazingly, this still wasn't the most explosive affair of the marriage.
Prince Andrew is seeking new separate accommodation for both himself and his ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, in exchange for Royal Lodge, according to reports. The Sun also reports that Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson have agreed to move out if Andrew can move to Frogmore Cottage and Sarah can move to Adelaide Cottage.
Then came John Bryan. Officially, he was the helpful advisor running the business side of Sarah's book deals. In truth, writers say he was something far more personal. From this moment on, the story doesn't simply bend. It plunges straight into territory that still leaves even seasoned royal staff stunned. Bryan was allegedly staying at Sunninghill Park, the couple's home, a gift to Andrew and Sarah from the Queen. According to Dr. Alan Starkey, Andrew had no idea that the man assisting Sarah professionally was also involved with her privately. The most jaw-dropping detail comes next. It is claimed that when Andrew went to sleep, Sarah and Bryan would slip into Andrew's study inside the family house, sharing intimate moments just steps from where Andrew had been minutes earlier. Lord Charteris, the Queen's former top secretary, reportedly reacted with fury when he found out. His response was said to be simply, vulgar, vulgar, vulgar.
Sit there and say, but he's the king. If he wants somebody to not live in a certain location anymore, surely he has the power to where you're able to make that happen, no, Elsa?
Obviously, he's in a very, very difficult position, and I think he would like his brother, his younger brother, to fall on his sword.
Then came the photographs, the notorious toe-sucking pictures from the south of France. The images that exploded the private scandal into public view and sent the palace into panic. But those photos were only the public spark of a far deeper issue. Inside the palace, the reaction was intense. And leading the charge, according to Andrew Lowe's recent biography, was Princess Anne. At a private dinner, Anne reportedly delivered a fierce scolding. She attacked Sarah's judgment, her recklessness, and the embarrassment she had brought upon the family. What makes this moment striking is that nobody defended Sarah, not Andrew, not a single relative or friend present. One guest recalled that Sarah behaved as though she was the one wronged, blaming photographers and editors rather than accepting what her own actions caused. Later, she was said to be called before the Queen. A staff member, quoted in one biography, said Sarah behaved oddly, defensive, almost offended, as though she still wouldn't accept responsibility for the scandal.
I can have someone a patron for charities that are helping children, and this patron is openly friends with a known paedophile, and she knew he was a paedophile by that point. Makes me want to vomit.
I mean, there are certain things you can recover from.
While Sarah's behavior filled the news, writers say Andrew's own actions played a major part in the collapse as well. One former driver told author Andrew Lowney that Andrew had allegedly slept with more than a dozen women in the first year of marriage. So while Sarah's affairs were on front pages, Andrew's were whispered in palace halls. Together, those habits left their relationship with nothing stable to rely on. In 1992, while Sarah was away, Andrew called her. Several accounts say he told her they needed to separate. She reportedly broke down crying, shocked and devastated. But the most notable detail is this: he allegedly said the decision wasn't fully his. The palace had reached its breaking point. Senior figures had lost patience. The marriage was officially beyond repair, and it was time for a public statement. In 1996, they divorced, but unlike most couples, that wasn't truly the end.
He'll also move out of Royal Lodge and into private accommodation under new instructions from his brother, the King. It all follows the continuing links between Andrew and the late pedophile Jeffrey Epstein.
Despite the drama, despite the affairs, Sarah and Andrew continued sharing a home. Royal Lodge became their joint safe place, a strange setup to outsiders, but a normal rhythm to them. They raised their daughters together, they traveled together, they appeared at public events together, they even joked they were the happiest divorced pair. It never looked like a romance. It looked like two people who survived a battlefield and were tied together by whatever secrets remained between them. Some think they understood each other more deeply than anyone else. Others believe they stayed close because a full separation would expose uncomfortable truths. They stayed linked long after their romantic life ended. Now, decades later, their shared life at Royal Lodge is ending. Andrew has been ordered to leave the home. His last royal privileges are gone. His title is gone. His public role is gone.
Heckled during an official visit today amid mounting pressure on the royals to strip Prince Andrew of his titles and evict him from the Royal Lodge. But look at what happened.
Andrew will soon move into a far smaller house on the King's private estate at Sandringham. Sarah's next home is still unknown. What is clear is that the long, tangled partnership they maintained for so many years is slowly reaching its end. Their marriage didn't collapse because of one misstep. It fell apart because of repeated behavior, affairs, distance, loneliness, poor judgment, indulgence, a lack of values, and choices they never thought would bring consequences. For years, rumors circulated about Andrew's private life being far more reckless than the palace admitted. Staff and former protection officers quietly spoke of a steady flow of women, some said to be escorts, entering his circle during his wild social years. These meetings were not discreet. They were impulsive encounters that startled the people responsible for keeping the royal household stable. Many reports say Andrew ignored the standards expected of a senior royal, especially regarding screening, secrecy, and basic manner. Most worrying are claims that some of these escorts were brought into Buckingham Palace with no proper clearance. Security staff reportedly found unknown women arriving late at night with almost no explanation and even less paperwork. In royal terms, it was a major breach. These were not known friends. They were strangers entering one of the most secure buildings in the nation with no checks at all. It caused frustration and concern among staff who had to manage the situation while Andrew behaved as if the rules didn't apply to him. These indulgent affairs on both sides show one clear truth. They acted as though nothing could touch them, as if consequences were for people beneath them. The harm they caused stretches far, and now insiders say both are slipping into a sharp decline. If you want the next chapter in this story, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and share your thoughts in the comments. I read every one. Thank you for watching.